Marvel. The devastation of natural disasters begins. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 78. The egg is a spy. He saved the world again. Is he a god, or a demon? Among the rubble, Black Widow helped Carter to his feet and sighed. After Tang Feng killed Ancient One, he began to kill, relying on his supreme power to act recklessly, like the behavior of a demon king. Putting the fate of the entire world in the hands of Tang Feng made people feel uneasy. Therefore, the Avengers never gave up the idea of confronting Tang Feng. However, Tang Feng, who they regard as the devil, has come forward again and again to save the world, and those who call themselves superheroes are powerless time and time again. Just thinking about it makes one feel ashamed. Perhaps it is a good thing that Blue Star has his presence and guard. 39. At least, better than my Sorcerer Supreme. But Doctor Strange pushed the stone away from him and walked out, clutching his bleeding head, thinking complicatedly. The Elder's revenge must be avenged. Jarvis, cancel the battle mode. This great god has appeared, and I can finally lie down in peace. Tony lay on the ground, unwilling to move. God of Destiny, thank you. You have once again saved Blue Star. The captain didn't have so many complicated ideas. No matter how he looked at Tang Feng, the fact was that Tang Feng helped, killed Thanos, and resolved another invasion crisis. So he said gratefully, so he is called the God of Destiny? As soon as he returned to Blue Star, he encountered Thanos' invasion, and Carol joined the battle, but was hanged and beaten. Because in superhero, he is the strongest and has received the most attacks, so it is a fluke to survive. She held her severely injured body, barely stood up, looked at Tang Feng, and said to herself. Tang Feng retracted his fist, looked around the completely destroyed environment, ignored everyone, and snapped his fingers. Restore as before. A circle of invisible ripples spread out from Tang Feng, and the surrounding environment that had been destroyed was restored. The collapsed buildings, if time were reversed, gravel flew back one after another, the cracks closed, the fractures reconnected, and the buildings stood up again. The holes in the ground, the fallen trees, or whatever, everything came back together. Moreover, because of this invasion of Thanos, the people who died were also resurrected. Among the resurrected people, Tang Feng killed more people by mistake than those killed by Thanos and the Chitauri army. His seriousness is sure to kill, because he shot with all his strength. Everything in front of him will be destroyed. Thanos is like that, and so are the people affected. If in One Punch Superman, Saitama was not in the spaceship but on the ground when he fought the cosmic overlord Burroughs, then his serious and confident punch must have caused manslaughter just like Tang Feng. The difference is that Tang Feng can both kill and save. After everything was restored, Tang Feng was the same as last time, clocking in and leaving work after finishing this. Anyway, he also knew what these superheroes thought of him, so he didn't bother to talk to them. If Tang Feng didn't change his mind, the relationship between Tang Feng and the superhero would always be a piece of piss. Let's go. Tang Feng called Roar and entered the portal, followed by Kayla and the others. The journey of killing gods continues. In the universe, there are many gods at the 6th level, very few at the 7th level, and none at the 8th level. Anyone who reaches the 8th level travels in various parallel universes, and it can be said that they have no fixed place. The 8th levels still left in this universe are all duplications and the like. If Tang Feng wants to upgrade to level 8 as soon as possible, killing 1 or 2 level 8 gods is the best way to upgrade. But the 8th level is not easy to kill. Even if you are defeated, you can escape to the infinite parallel universe. Moreover, killing an 8th level god would arouse the fear of other 8th level gods, or above, and they might join forces to deal with him. Together. Because of this, Tang Feng is also very jealous. Level 8 is neither a kitten nor a puppy. Only at level 8 can you freely travel back and forth between infinite parallel universes and communicate with each other. With these conveniences, there are conditions for joining forces. Kill everyone. Don't be afraid. There are only 5 of them. With so many gods joining forces, we can definitely kill them. In the dark universe, there was a sound of daring and killing, and dozens of gods gathered on a planet to attack five figures. The leader is Tang Feng, followed by Kayla, Mara, Diana, and Hulk. Is it Egg? Well done. I was not disappointed. Tang Feng saw the planet behind him through the dozens of figures in front of him. This planet is conscious of life, and he is the god Yigo, the father of Star-Lord. Egg is a very ambitious planet. He spreads the seeds of the light sources on most of the planets in this universe, trying to devour all the planets. Not only can he get rid of the fate of the planet's decay, achieve eternity, but also greatly increase the amount of ability. Because of the seeds of the light source, he had a general understanding of the conditions of these planets. So when Tang Feng attacked everywhere, slaughtered the gods, and destroyed the planet, he told Egg about it. Afraid of Tang Feng's power, he announced what Tang Feng had done, warned all the gods, and actively persuaded him to form an alliance of gods against Tang Feng. However, what he didn't expect was that everything was influenced by Tang Feng, so he did this. Egg's fate was controlled by Tang Feng. Killing them one by one is too much trouble. Tang Feng simply borrowed Egg's hand to gather the rest of the gods and kill them all at once. This is Tang Feng's strategy, a sure shot. Tang Feng waved his hand, indicating that Kayla and the others did not need to take action. He stood up and faced the rushing gods. He took a horse step in the universe, his right fist contracted at his waist, and punched out a straight punch very seriously. Boom. The last impression left in the eyes of the gods was a fist that destroyed everything. As if it could pierce the universe, the bodies of the gods turned into ashes. The planet in the back has also turned into a splendid firework. The origin is destroyed, and Egg is also dead. On the blue star, the original seed of Egg's species also withered the towel of death. Chapter 79 10 Years of Retreat. After killing these gods, the gods below the 8th level in this universe almost died. Even if there are fish that escape the net, they are only a few lucky ones. The death of so many gods will definitely have a huge impact, and the fate of the universe has undergone earth-shaking changes. The slaughter of the gods is over. You guys should return to Blue Star first. I'm going to retreat. 35 Tang Feng looked into the deep universe. His hands and feet were wide open, gradually disintegrating and dissipating, and the invisible finally disappeared. He is integrated into the fate of this universe, as if he is sleeping, everywhere, with the resources produced by killing the gods. When he wakes up from his fate and reappears, if there is no accident, he will be promoted to level 8. At that time, it is time to return to the original Marvel Universe. Time flies. 10 years have passed. Blue Star, it is very different from 10 years ago. Since Atlantis, Paradise Island, and Inhumans have communicated with human beings, whether it is technology or vision, human society has made great progress. And moreover, after Thor joined the Avengers, he saw with his own eyes that human society was changing with each passing day, and the changes were too great. If things go on like this, Asgard's status as the Lord of the Worlds may not be preserved. No, in fact, after the return of Kayla, Mara, Diana, and Hulk, the human Blue Star is the most powerful force in the 9 realms. This is a fact. Without Tang Feng's cheating, even the weakest Kayla, Thor would not be able to win, let alone Mara, Diana, and Hulk. Thor has the divine power of awakening now, and he has a 5th level power, but compared to the 6th level power, it is still poor. Mara and the others can defeat Thor with one hand. Therefore, Thor is no longer stubborn, and if he can't win, he can't win. He is the God King of Asgard. Even he can't beat the current human powerhouse, so he and Asgard have nothing to be proud of. Thor lowered his mentality, behaved modestly, represented Asgard in the 9 realms, and established a formal alliance with humans. In this way, through communication with Asgard, humans finally learned that the so-called 9 realms really exist, and the mythical elves, frost giants, Thor, Odin, etc., all, Agi, are real. This kind of thing is bound to cause a hot topic in society. In the past 10 years, human society seems to have returned to the period of the Industrial Revolution. With the rapid development of science and technology, Spaceships that only existed in movies have begun to appear. The first spaceship appeared in the second year after Tang Feng's retirement. It can fly back and forth in the solar system with safety guarantee. This is just the initial version. With the technical support of Atlantis and Asgard, the spaceship that used to seem more difficult than going to heaven is now not easy. The manufacturing of spaceships has become more and more proficient and better, from the humble civilian use at the beginning to the military field at the end, a spaceship capable of carrying out space wars. It is worth mentioning that seeing the great changes in human society, Wakanda, which has been hiding its true face, was also anxious and couldn't sit still. They know that if human technology and the outside world continues to develop like this, they will be discovered in a few years. At that time, when they see a vibranium mine, won't the outside countries be jealous? Don't you want to grab it? It will definitely be stolen, and a fool doesn't want it. In order to avoid the expected tragedy, in the third year of Tang Feng's retreat, the real Wakanda also communicated with the outside world as the new Black Panther, T'Challa, at the expense of part of the interests of the vibranium mine and the mature vibranium technology, finally managed to avoid the battle, reintegrated into human society, and became a powerful country on the Blue Star. In the past 10 years, many things have changed. Tang Feng sat in the coffee shop, drinking coffee alone, looking down at the entire new city from the perspective of God, and seeing the huge changes in the entire Blue Star, he sighed endlessly. The people walking on the street, in addition to men and women, of different skin colors, there are different races. There are sea clans from Atlantis, with scales on their bodies and strange shapes. There are female warriors on Paradise Island, who are enthusiastic and unrestrained, and wear armor made of scarce materials. The legs, the Hungarian moon, have attracted many people's attention. Or the Wakanda tribe, shouting for the tribe, jumping from the free throw lane with a basketball, a 360-degree windmill dunk. Or there is the god people of Asgard, who is on the street, proudly talking about the romance between the gods. He is the legendary bard. Or there is a magician, a straight-acting spell and bright, which caused a lot of cheers. Tang Feng took a sip of coffee, looked at all this, and showed a smile. He used to be a part of humans, and now he is in a good mood seeing that humans are doing so well. Boom. At this moment, a white flight trail flashed across the sky. Just now, there was a newly made spaceship. During the test flight, it circled the Blue Star and flew towards the universe. Drink coffee alone? It's too lonely. Let me drink with you. 35 When Tang Feng was immersed in the recollection of the past, a red-haired woman came over and sat opposite him, holding her cheeks in one hand and said with a smile, "It's definitely good to be accompanied by beautiful women." Tang Feng shook his head and smiled, snapped his fingers, called the waiter over and ordered a cup of coffee. No matter how human society changes, one thing remains the same: the Black Widow is always so beautiful and young. It is undeniable that the body is also very good. Tang Feng does what he wants, chats happily with the Black Widow, drinks coffee, and then goes shopping with her. After that, he followed her back to her house. Coincidentally, Carter was there. Therefore, Tang Feng simply played around for a few more days and enjoyed the warm hospitality of the two girls. The Black Widow and Carter are indescribably complicated feelings towards the god of fate who disappeared for 10 years, but one thing can be confirmed: this is the god of fate. No matter how you deny it, whether it is hegemony or kingship, in front of the god of fate who controls everything, who can refuse? Therefore, the so-called reserved goddess is worthless in front of Tang Feng. Chapter 80 God Shot. Goodbye for now, the blue star of this universe. In the outer space universe, Tang Feng floated quietly, looked at the beautiful blue planet, and said softly, after awakening from his retreat, he was successfully promoted to the 8th level, so he already has the ability to return to the original universe. Although he was about to leave, he did not say goodbye to anyone because he could either leave or return. In terms of the power of the 8th level, the time it takes to go and return is as simple as drinking water. In this universe, there are the women he misses: Mera, Diana, Gwen, the sexy Aunt May, as well as Black Widow, Carter, and Kayla. In the end, Kayla did not escape the fate of being devoured by Tang Feng. Moreover, before deciding to leave, Sky, Wanda, and Tang Feng in this universe thought for a while. But they couldn't be so selfish, and it would be a pity for them to be single for a lifetime like this. Therefore, Tang Feng still met them, devoured them, and became her man. Although they are the same person, they are the difference between the two universes. Their life experiences are different, and their personalities are also different. In this way, Tang Feng has the feeling of having an affair with his twin sisters. Break it up. Tang Feng looked deeply at Lan Xing for a while, then took out a hand, tore off a spatial crack, entered it, and began to set off on the way home. It is a colorful passage with various whirlpools around it, and it flashes in a flash that looks like what the Flash has traveled through. The difference is that the Flash passes through the passage in the past, and the surrounding scene is either people or things. As for the passages that Tang Feng traveled through, the vortexes represent parallel universes, and this passage can also be called the passage of all worlds. It's just that this world is limited to Marvel, DC's worldview. No one knows how many parallel universes there are, and neither does Tang Feng. At least in terms of level 8 power, it is not enough for him to know everything. Tang Feng walked with each step as he looked at the vortex around him. Although he was dazzled, thousands of parallel universes passed by in the blink of an eye, but with his eyesight, he could still see clearly. If he sees his original universe, he will immediately sense it and will not miss it. Boom. Tang Feng, who was walking through the Wanji passage, was also not easy. As long as he did not leave, he would feel a very strong pressure all the time. This kind of pressure was invisibly transmitted from countless parallel universes. If a 7th level god is here, he can barely survive for 1 or 3 hours, and then he must quickly leave. Otherwise his body will collapse and cause his downfall. While resisting the omnipresent oppressive force in the passage of the world, trying to find the way home is very tiring. Even Tang Feng, at the 7th level, may be more powerful than the average 7th level god, but he cannot stay in the 10,000 Realms passage for a long time. If the time spent in the 10,000 Realms passage has reached the limit and a way home has not been found, then all the previous painstaking efforts will be wasted in vain. Because of this, Tang Feng was not in such a hurry to go home when he was at level 7, and waited until level 8, when he had a foolproof preparation, before returning home. With the current level of power, although the pressure of the 10,000 Realms passage still makes Tang Feng feel uneasy, it is only so. Even if he stays in the Myriad Realms passage permanently, there will be no problem. Tang Feng definitely did not have so much time to waste here. He searched patiently, and after an unknown number of days, he finally saw the universe that belonged to his hometown. He finally found it. 35 Tang Feng's eyes lit up and he let out a sigh of relief. He wanted to use his strength to fix the universe in his hometown, so that he could open a spatial portal and enter. At this moment, a rumbling sound came from the Wanji channel, and a strange energy disturbance occurred. Because this is the junction of countless parallel universes, from each universe, some cosmic energy will inadvertently flow out, which also forms the Myriad Realms channel. Moreover, these circulating cosmic energies will accumulate in the Myriad Realms passage, and they will accumulate more and more, and eventually the Myriad Realms passage will burst. However, the Myriad Realms passage will not be completely destroyed. As long as the countless parallel universes do not disappear, the Myriad Realms channel will always exist. From the birth of the universe to the present, the Myriad Realms channel has exploded every few million years, and it's only been 500,000 to 600,000 years since the last explosion. I didn't expect it to be so many years earlier this time. Is Tang Feng so unlucky? It just happened to happen. Bad luck? As a god of destiny, I won't be so unlucky. 35 If you are not mistaken, it's. Tang Feng stood calmly in the Wanji passage, seeing the powerful power of the explosion approaching. His face remained calm and not panicked. Someone is doing shit. He wants to kill me. This is what he didn't say. He looked up. Although he didn't see anything, he knew that there was definitely a pair of eyes watching. In a short moment, Tang Feng had already thought of the cause and effect. It may be that he is afraid of fate and doesn't want him, the god of destiny, to grow up, so he wants to kill him in advance. Although I know that Tang Feng is connected with fate, it is impossible for him to really be killed. But what if? Does it work? Every god is very confident in his own strength, especially the existence above the 9th level. He is omniscient and omnipotent, and can do everything. 0. So, there is such a person. Try to shoot. When the 10,000 Realms tunnel exploded, an unspoken force suddenly appeared, mixed with the energy of the explosion, and completely annihilated Tang Feng. Whether it was body, soul, or thought, the traces of existence have been completely erased. Is he really dead? In the void, there was a line of sight guarding, and he looked at it carefully. Even if he couldn't find the slightest proof of Tang Feng's existence, he was still a little hesitant. With his omniscient and omnipotent power, it is not certain that Tang Feng will be killed. No, there is no big movement in fate, which proves that he is not really dead. Although his vitality will be severely damaged and he will remain silent for a long time, but one day he will reappear. This is interesting. You are obviously the god of destiny, yet you still miss the so-called emotions of mortals? Destiny, God, await your revenge. The sound of the void disappeared, and calm was restored. Countless parallel universes are still revolving, and they are constantly being born and destroyed, and the gathered energy began to create the myriad realms channel again. However, 2 parallel universes had an unexpected situation that gave the force of time a hold. Time, at the eternal stop, unless there is a 9th level existence to unlock it. It will be like this forever long. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1 Superman Players, Go Home. Home? Don't I live at home alone? What kind of home do I want to go back to? No, this isn't your real home. Your home is. Where are you? What did you say? I can't hear you. Is there? Where? Is there? Where is it? 35 A man who was deep in sleep finally woke up, sat up abruptly, and shouted, I had this dream again, and it has haunted me for 20 years. From the time I was born until now, I have had a dream every 10 days. 35 Hey, what's wrong? Isn't this really the after effects of rebirth? The man slapped his forehead with one hand, stood up with a sigh, put on his clothes, brushed his teeth and washed his face, walked to the balcony, and stretched out comfortably in front of the rising sun. This male 040 is called Tang Feng. He is a reborn person. He was reborn from the original world to the Marvel world. This Marvel world is just the comic world of his previous life, and he didn't expect it to be a real world. Tang Feng didn't know why he was reborn. Anyway, he had a second life and picked it up. In fact, after Tang Feng was killed by God, although after a long sleep, he was reborn again, but because of the damage he received, he ended up as a seal. Only by recovering memory can we truly recover and regain our true power. There were 2 things that bothered him. One is that he can't remember anything about his previous life, only a few scattered memories. Even so, he was born with a mature thought. He instinctively knew that his original name was Tang Feng, and that he was a unique existence. The second thing is the nightmare that haunted him for 20 years. In the dream, there was a person who could not see clearly and told him to go home and go home, but he never made it clear. If he said half and kept most of it, he instinctively knew that the so-called returning home, if he figured it out, he would definitely be able to solve all the puzzles. It is a pity that even if he now has the power of Superman, he can't remember the past life and can't solve the truth of the nightmare. Well, don't think too much about it. The ship will naturally go straight to the bridge. No matter what the mystery is, there will always be a day to solve it. Tang Feng basked in the sun for a while, squinting his eyes slightly, and said to himself. At this moment, his ears moved and he heard the footsteps of going upstairs. It was the footsteps of Shaky's mother. Without guessing, he knew that she came to wake him up for breakfast. Tang Feng quickly turned around and walked towards the stairs. Dear mother, don't go up. I'm already upstairs. My dear son, get up, go downstairs and have breakfast. Okay. Tang Feng walked down the stairs, went down to the first floor, hugged Shaky-ass mother, and then went to the restaurant together. I just said that I should be up. My son never sleeps late, so worry about it. Here in the restaurant, there was a middle-aged man sitting here a long time ago. He was of Chinese descent and Tang Feng's father, named Tang Tian. He was eating breakfast and reading the newspaper. In fact, he is already 50 years old, but he is well kept and looks like he is only 40. I'm not as ruthless as you, and I don't care about my son at all. You know, he just finished attending the fan meeting yesterday, so he must be exhausted. So, I thought my son would sleep in today. Shaky-ass mother said, and looked at Tang Feng lovingly. She is about the same age as Tang Tian, but she is well maintained. She looks to be in her early 40s, with a plump figure and a hot blonde. Mom, don't worry about me anymore. You also know that my body has always been great, and I won't get tired easily. Tang Feng started eating breakfast, shook his head and said, his father is Chinese and his mother is an American citizen, so he is of mixed race, with jewel-like black eyes, 1.85 meters tall, a strong build, and a high nose. He is a handsome blonde boy. Yes, my son is right. He has never suffered from any illness since he was a child. From elementary school to junior high school, and university, he is not only a genius, but he always skips grades and teaches himself. He competes in sports competitions, and every time he comes first. With a body as good as him, it's just a mere fan meeting. How could he be exhausted? Tang Tian's father drank white porridge and shook his head helplessly, feeling that Shaky-ass mother was just worried. In his opinion, his son is not an ordinary person at all, but a monster. Anyway, I only care about my son, okay? Shaky-ass mother snorted, put her hands on her hips, and used a woman's privilege, which was unreasonable. Okay, it's definitely okay. Tang Tian's father immediately raised his hands and confessed. PSST, Shaky-ass mother looked at Tang Tian's father's cowardly look, couldn't help but roll her eyes and laugh out loud. Tang Feng also smiled. The whole breakfast process is relaxed and happy, full of the beauty of a harmonious family. Alas, the Lakers lost again. Son, if you listened to me and became an NBA star, you would definitely lead the Lakers to victory, and maybe even win the championship. After breakfast, Shaky-ass mother went to wash the dishes. Tang Feng and Tang Tian's father sat on the sofa, chatting and talked about the Lakers' failure to win the playoffs. Dad, if there is nothing, if I am not interested in playing basketball, you can give up completely. Tang Feng shook his head speechlessly and said, when an NBA star, playing basketball, don't even think about it. With his body getting stronger and stronger, no matter what kind of strong man he is, as long as he touches him lightly, he can be crushed into meat patties. Although he can control the force, in the fierce basketball game, any accident can happen. He is playing basketball and being careful not to hit dead men. Can't it be too strange? It's too tiring. I'm so tired. Therefore, after college, Tang Feng resolutely said goodbye to basketball no matter how Tang Tian's father coached him. Why did you tell your son to play basketball again? Isn't he doing well now? As a world-renowned writer, as well as a 3-star star in film, television, and song, he is much better than any N4.8 boss star. Shaky-ass mother washed the dishes, walked over, heard a few words from the father and son, and said proudly. Tang Tian's father smiled bitterly and didn't say any more. He also knew that Tang Feng's career was developing so well now that he would not play basketball again. Ah, it's Superman. The screams came from the TV, and the movie Superman 1 was playing on the screen. When humans were in crisis, Superman appeared in time, looking at the villain majestically, the red cape swaying constantly. My son did a great job. Shaky-ass mother watched and praised. Okay. 35 Tang Feng said modestly. He is the actor who plays Superman. In fact, no one knew that he had the same power as Superman. Chapter 2 The Open Life. I'm leaving. Are you coming back tonight? Look, if the commercial shooting ended early, I would come back. 5 Tang Feng said goodbye to his parents as he walked out and waved to them. This is a villa with a small garden and a swimming pool. It covers an area of more than 300 square meters. In New York City, where every inch of land is expensive. If you want to buy such a villa, you wouldn't dare to buy it without a net worth of hundreds of millions of dollars. Tang Feng walked all the way through the small garden corridor and came to the outer door. The security guard called drawer with him and opened the door. Outside the door, there was already a red Ferrari waiting. Beside the car was a blonde beauty, about 30 years old, with long legs, wearing a short skirt. "Anna, I didn't keep you waiting." Tang Feng walked over and asked with a gesture. "No, I just arrived." 55 inches boss, please get in the car. Anna 09 opened the passenger seat as she replied. Tang Feng nodded lightly, leaned over, lowered his head and sat in the passenger seat. Anna is his assistant and secretary. "Boss, I'm just going to film our Armani clothing commercials today, and then you can arrange the rest of the time." 99 I have a lot of appointments now, do you see? Anna drove the car and asked tentatively. "No matter what it is, I don't dare to be interested. For me, money is endless, and the most important thing is to be happy." Tang Feng didn't even think about it, shook his head and said, "Okay." Anna shrugged helplessly. Before she asked, she had already guessed what Tang Feng would answer. Whoever called her boss really has no shortage of money. The novels Harry Potter and Vampire Love written by Tang Feng are world-famous novels and are selling well. They have made millions of dollars from book sales alone, and even more from copyright. Not to mention that each of Tang Feng's 15 original songs can lead the trend and make a lot of money. Then there is the TV series starring him, which is an adaptation of his novel Vampire Love. No coincidence, it has become one of the top American TV series, and I don't know how many female fans have fallen for it. Then came the movie, with Tang Feng's reputation, plus his own funds, sponsored the film and simply let him get the lead role of the new version of Superman 1 from the new century. Facts have proved that Tang Feng's acting skills are not inferior to others. With his handsome appearance and a body that makes women drool, he played the role of Superman very well, and the audience also bought it. The North American box office alone contributed $400 million, plus the global box office, a total of $850 million was created. This is undoubtedly the highest-grossing DC film series. 2 months ago, just 1 month after the Superman 1 movie was broadcast, DC can't wait to start the second Superman movie. The protagonist should be Tang Feng. However, Tang Feng refused because of lack of interest. In his words, the purpose of making money is to enjoy life, not to become a slave to money. So, he will not film Superman 2 so soon, at least a year later. If not, then he will not act. Tang Feng is undoubtedly very willful in doing so, but he has the confidence to be willful. The career of Sankey, writer, film and television singer, including endorsement money, does not make as much as investment. Because of the scattered memories of the past life, although Tang Feng can't remember the details of the past life, he still has some impressions. If he wants to invest in any company, he instinctively knows whether he will lose or win, which is much more accurate than what an expert predicts. It is a foolproof trick. That's it. Tang Feng invested most of the money he earned. He didn't lose anything, just made a profit. It was still a huge profit. His actual assets are now more than $3 billion. Compared with those reborn seniors, Tang Feng often sighs in the middle of the night. He has been reborn for 20 years and has the power of Superman. His brain is more powerful than a computer. Since he has such an achievement and earned this little money, there is really nothing to be proud of. Although he has already taken 5 doctoral exams, and the date of the next doctoral exam is a month later, he is so outstanding that in the world's comments, he is still not as good as Tony, a playboy. However, Tang Feng didn't take it to heart. He knew his own affairs and really wanted to surpass Tony. With his super powerful brain, it was a piece of cake. Whatever the field, he is confident that he can do better than Tony. He just doesn't want to. Oh, for life is good now. Tang Feng looked at the scenery outside the car window and thought to himself. However, there was a sense of urgency in his heart, as if saying, "This is not your true face. You must wake up quickly." Like an unintelligible dream. It is depressing. Tang Feng shook his head. No matter what the truth is, you are living a good life now, so don't ask for trouble. There will always be a day when you will know the truth. I said Anna, You don't need to drive so fast. I'm not in a hurry. You almost ran a red light just now. Tang Feng glanced at the rearview mirror. The car behind had stopped before the red light. Anna rolled her eyes at Tang Feng. Her face flushed. Her mouth pursed tightly. She was driving a fast car. She had only one thought. When she arrived at the place, she must make Tang Feng beautiful. Oh, I don't want to. But who told you that you are always so fascinating? Tang Feng blinked, deliberately going too far. Stimulated by this, Ferrari drove faster. Roar whizzed past with the roar of the accelerator, overtaking a car and speeding away. Chapter 3. Tony is not happy. Tony Stark, please. Tony, I'm sorry. He didn't have time today, so I'll accept the award on his behalf. 35 Obadiah hurriedly walked onto the stage, accepted the award on Tony's behalf, and explained with an embarrassed expression. The host had nothing to say about Tony's disrespectful behavior. Tony, a playboy, has always been so unpleasant. Although he is talented, only women like him, with his money. Cough cough. It's a pity that Tony is not available today. Now the second award will be presented. You have obtained 5 doctorate certificates, and you are also a world-renowned writer, musician, actor, investor, and genius. Tang Feng, 99. The host held the microphone, shouted loudly, maintained an inviting gesture, and waited for Tang Feng to come on stage. The result embarrassed him. Tang Feng did not appear for a long time. Instead, like Tony's situation, his agent appeared. I'm really sorry, but the boss has something to do today, so I'll take it for him. Anna stepped onto the stage and explained helplessly. In fact, Tang Feng only sleeps late and has no activities in the afternoon. Another beautiful day. Tang Feng opened the curtains, let the sunshine in, took a deep breath to comfort himself, and stretched his waist. The warm sunlight not only brings him warmth, but also gives him strength. Just like Superman, he becomes stronger and stronger as he absorbs more and more sunlight. He didn't know the reason why he had the same power as Superman. Honey, I'm leaving. A brown-haired, long-legged beauty walked out of the bathroom and said to Tang Feng, "See you." Tang Feng said with a wave without turning his head, "Honey, I'm leaving. Won't you support me?" The beauty walked to Tang Feng's back, hugged him from behind, and said expectantly, "Don't you have work? I won't waste your time. Goodbye." Tang Feng turned his head, patted her on the shoulder, and said with a smile, "Okay, goodbye then." The beauty smiled reluctantly in disappointment, knowing that her relationship with Tang Feng was over, so she had to leave. Her job was still last night. After letting Tang Feng have fun, she asked for it for her. This is a rare opportunity for her, which can save her a few years of struggle. It's a pity that Tang Feng didn't look down on her, just had a one-night stand with her, and then they did their own things. Tang Feng stood on the balcony, watching the beauty leave, shrugged, went back to the room, put on his clothes, looked at the magazines on the table, and smiled proudly. On the cover of the magazine, there was the beauty just now, the girl selected by Playboy this month, and he finally got her first. Tony must be angry, as he thought, even if Tony coaxed another beautiful woman to get together with him. He was sad and cursed through gritted teeth. Damn Tang Feng, I always grab women with me. In the past, he and Tang Feng were almost the ones competing for the 12 beauties selected by Playboy magazine every year. Either he had the upper hand and won most of the selected beauties, or Tang Feng has the upper hand and grabs most of the beauties. Although Tang Feng's net worth is not as much as Tony's, but in terms of youth and body, Tang Feng is definitely the winner. And, if only to give those beauties who worship money, Tang Feng has this ability, no worse than Tony. Unless Tony gave up the shares of Stark Industries to get angry, he could defeat Tang Feng and take all the beauties into his pocket. However, Tony would not do that. He would not do something as stupid as that. Therefore, between Tony and Tang Feng, it has always been a fair competition. As a result, in terms of love, Tang Feng gradually overwhelmed Tony, occupying an absolute advantage. Nothing in the world is absolutely secret. The comparison of Tang Feng and Tony in terms of male capital, Tang Feng must win. Since Tang Feng failed to pick up a beautiful girl, there have been rumors that Tang Feng's gold cannot be grabbed in the circle. And Tony, it will never be. In fact, Tony is going to be middle-aged now, and it is not easy to stay energetic and satisfy women. It is absolutely impossible to want to be like Tang Feng. This was also a reason why Tony was annoyed with Tang Feng. There is a feeling from both Sheng Yu and He Shengliang. Hey, boss, this is the trophy I will collect for you. When it was noon, Anya came back and handed Tang Feng a golden trophy. Kai apostrophe vertical bar. It's more or less, nothing extraordinary. Tang Feng took the trophy, glanced at it, twitched the corner of his mouth, and threw it aside, completely ignoring it. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't be able to ask for this trophy. Come on, it's getting late. Tang Feng waved his hand and walked out of the villa first. This is another villa, because it is romantic with beautiful women. I can't take it home, so I bought it specially. Not only this villa, but also in other places. There are several villas. It is convenient for Tang Feng to take the girl out to have fun or open a party. In the afternoon was a fan meeting event in the center of New York, not far from the Stark Building, just 3 blocks away. There are many kinds of Tang Feng fans, some readers, some fans, or they just adore him, admire him for being so powerful, so great. Those young people of the new era. It may be that Tang Feng is younger than Tony. In the eyes of the teenagers of the new era, Tang Feng can better represent the banner of the teenagers of the new era. Wind, wind, wind. Our prince has appeared. As soon as Tang Feng arrived at the venue, the fans gathered at the venue shouted loudly, with expressions of fanatic admiration. They crowded into the square, causing traffic jams. Ah, so many fans. It seems we have to end the event quickly, otherwise it will cause trouble for the traffic in New York City. Tang Feng sat in the car and said with a shrug. Anna glared at him angrily. Do you have no idea how many fans you have? You should have expected this situation when you decided to hold activities here. Tang Feng is the towel after the horse. Chapter 4. It's Superman time. Don't crowd around. Don't worry, come one by one. I will try my best to satisfy you. Tang Feng shouted to her to appease the restless fans, sat behind the table, and kept helping fans sign autographs. Every fan who got Tang Feng's autograph screamed in excitement, hugged acquaintances, and jumped happily. The fans at the back waited anxiously, eager to see through, wishing that all the people in front would die, so that they could meet Tang Feng and get their autographs. Since there are too many fans, it is impossible to satisfy all the fans in just a few hours in the afternoon. Tang Feng's autograph must be lucky to have only a small number of fans. Therefore, no matter how much Tang Feng opened his mouth to appease, and no matter how much the surrounding security officers shouted, these fans still tried their best to move forward. The scene looked messy, but fortunately, it was foreseen in advance and a large number of security personnel were arranged to reluctantly suppress the situation. All Tang Feng can do is to write the signature as quickly as possible, and when the event time is up, he will quickly leave, although doing so is too irresponsible for fans who have not received autographs. However, Tang Feng is not a signature machine. He has too many fans all over the world, and it is impossible to satisfy all fans. Therefore, when the end of time is reached, it is time to leave, or it is necessary to leave, and fans who cannot get autographs will also be considered. When Tang Feng was busy signing autographs, no one could have imagined that a shocking change would happen. 043 This was a premeditated terrorist attack. Jason Engel is a retired flight officer. He had a very bright future, but unfortunately, his fate was miserable. His life experience was very tragic. During his military service, his parents were brutally murdered by blacks. In this way, hatred blinded him, trying to kill the black men in prison. Fortunately, his boss found out in time and prevented him from this stupid move. For this reason, the boss felt that he was not suitable to continue being a pilot, so he let him retire. Jensen retired, found a good girl, married happily, no longer thought about hatred, and devoted himself to being a man. It's just that God did not forgive him, and misfortune happened again. His wife was robbed, female gangster, and was brutally murdered in the end. What's even more unbearable is that the culprit still doesn't know who it is. One can imagine how sad, how desperate, and how resentful Jensen was. If the following hell is the condition, It can be exchanged for the opportunity for revenge, and Jensen will definitely agree. The loss of his wife and daughter was the reason why Jensen barely suppressed his hatred and did not go crazy. However, when my daughter was 4 years old, she contracted a rare disease that would cost at least millions of dollars to cure. He didn't have that much money, so he tried to ask the outside world for help, desperately begging, hoping that someone with a good heart could help him. Although there are good-hearted people in the world, he didn't meet them. And in the end he didn't have enough money for the operation. He could only watch his 4-year-old daughter die in pain on the hospital bed. At that time, no one knew that the heartbroken man had chosen to enter hell. The world is too cruel. He doesn't want to be a human. Even if he is a devil, he is willing. He felt that if he continued to live in this world, he would only live in pain every day, and it would be better to die. But he is not reconciled. He doesn't want to die silently. He wants revenge, and he wants more people to feel his pain. Even if he dies, he will drag more people into hell, so that more people, like him, will be heartbroken when they are alive. This is the story of a desperate man taking revenge on the world. At dusk, the event is coming to an end and Tang Feng is ready to say goodbye to his fans. It was also at the moment when a civilian plane roared from the distance and was about to land at the New York airport. On the plane, Jensen went to the cockpit, and the smile on his face made it impossible to see that he was a person desperate for the world. The captain is also a retired Air Force veteran, and Jensen was once a comrade in arms, so the captain was unprepared and satisfied Jensen's request and let Jensen in. As soon as Jensen walked in, he had a look of admiration and nostalgia, as if he had lost his youth and once again had a joy. The captain spoke with a smile and happily introduced Jensen to the various instruments on the plane. Then, Jensen hugged him. The captain did not think much and hugged him. As a result, with a click, Jensen twisted his neck and attacked very hard, showing no mercy at all. After killing the captain, Jensen didn't change his face, and before the co-pilot could react, he punched him in the temple, killing him immediately. Then, he closed the cockpit door, dragged the captain out of his seat, sat down himself, and controlled the plane in a familiar and unfamiliar manner. He looked at the New York City that was getting closer and closer, with a cruel smile on the corner of his mouth, which was full of joy, relief. He shook the control stick violently and controlled the plane to deviate from the route. Instead of flying to the airport, it crashed into the place where Tang Feng was. His deceased wife was a fan of Tang Feng and was a die-hard fan. She always wanted Tang Feng's autograph, but she couldn't get it before she died. He thought, since she can't get the autograph before she dies, she will drag Tang Feng to die together. After she dies, let her see Tang Feng earlier and get the autograph, and she will get her wish. This is the crazy idea of crazy people. Therefore, he specifically chose to do it today, knowing that Tang Feng would have an event today and would appear in the center of New York City. The roaring sound of roar was getting louder and louder, and the figure of the plane was getting closer and closer. Tang Feng and the fans present finally realized that something was wrong and looked up one after another, seeing that the plane had crashed straight towards them. The plane is about to crash. Run. 35 Help. God. Run. 5 Don't push me. Get out. The scene was chaotic, completely chaotic. All the people were screaming, desperately pushing the people around them, trying to stay away. Some people fell, some were trampled, some were crying desperately, and some children were crying helplessly, all of which were ignored. Everyone was thinking about running, running, running. Boss, run away. Anna grabbed Tang Feng's hand and shouted in a panic, "It's useless for you to panic now. Do you think you can escape when such a big plane crashes?" Tang Feng didn't move. Instead, he hugged Anna tightly with one hand and said in a deep voice, "Actually, I have a secret that I didn't tell you. I'm Superman." Tang Feng watched the plane approach the height of the building, made a decision in his heart, and said seriously to Anna, "Kr." Anna's face was stunned. Just as she was about to speak, she pushed Tang Feng away. Then she opened her mouth wide and watched Tang Feng fly out and meet the crashed plane. Chapter 5 The world is boiling. The plane crashed in a nosedive. The glass of the surrounding buildings shattered, and a huge shadow covered the square below. The people who wanted to escape screamed and hugged their heads in despair. The plane was only 20 meters above the ground, and suddenly, he could no longer hit it and stalled in midair. Jason sat in the driver's seat, and his crazy screams stopped. He stared at the nose of the plane in a dumbfounded manner, witnessing an unbelievable scene. Tang Feng appeared in front of the head of the plane, wrapped his arms around it, and hugged the plane tightly. It's something only Superman can do in movies, and he never imagined it. It happened. Dream? Fantasy? Jensen rubbed his eyes vigorously with his hands. It was still the same. The dream was not broken. What he saw in front of him was the fact. He sat hunched over and muttered to himself that God was joking with him. My God! Look, everyone, the plane didn't crash again. Is he a Superman? God! Oh my God! Tang Feng, Superman is Tang Feng. Tang Feng is Superman. Is there really a Superman? The people below who were screaming and fleeing finally discovered what was happening above their heads. They stopped one after another, stopped screaming, raised their heads, and opened their mouths wide, as if God had come out. Everyone, look! Anna covered her mouth with her hands and took a few steps back. Her mind was cloudy and confused. Tang Feng played Superman, but she didn't expect that he himself was Superman. So, Tang Feng is also an alien? The most important thing is that he slept with Superman. Everyone, there's no need to be afraid. The plane has already been held by me and will not fall. In the chaos before, many people were injured, so please help and save people. I'll go save the plane now, Tang Feng shouted, then threw the plane with both hands, and then flew to the middle of the plane below the plane, and simply took the plane to the airport and flew away. The people in the square below and Anna watched as Tang Feng took the plane away. Quickly, quickly to save people. Yes, yes, everyone, come and help. Why are you standing still? Come quickly. Where to? Idiot. He is definitely going to the airport. Tang Feng is a Superman. There really is a Superman. God, this is definitely a rare big news. We can't lag behind. 35 Some of the people in the square were saving people. The reporters already had microphones and cameras in their hands, and following the direction Tang Feng left, they headed towards the airport at the fastest speed. Big news. Definitely big news. The reporters were full of excitement and couldn't wait to immediately appear in front of Tang Feng and ask him a series of questions. At this moment, even if it is a big star or a head of state, they will ignore it, and Tang Feng is the target they are chasing. While the reporters were running away and notifying their respective newspapers, reports about Superman's appearance appeared in advance. This is a report that catches time. Can't wait to interview Tang Feng. Moreover, Tang Feng held a plane and flew all the way to the airport. Many people have seen the pose that looks like Superman's debut. The person who saw it first showed a stunned look, and then pointed at Tang Feng, roaring in shock. God! Superman! My God! And so on. What happened to Superman? Tang Feng is what happened to Superman, and the short videos recorded by many people quickly appeared on the internet. From then on, the whole world has been boiling, shocked by Tang Feng. No matter who it is the same. What did you say? Superman appeared? Tang Feng is Superman. Jarvis, is today April Fool's Day? Tony looked puzzled, knowing that Jarvis wouldn't lie to him, but he still confirmed it repeatedly. Sir, this is true, and the video on the internet is also true. In the video, the person holding the plane is indeed Tang Feng himself. Jarvis confirmed in a calm tone. In front of Tony, a video was playing. Tang Feng was holding the plane. He had already flown to the airport and was slowly landing. Tang Feng gently put the plane on the ground, then flew to the cabin door. With a gentle force, he arrogantly pushed open the closed cabin door and flew in. 0. 4 flowers. Hello everyone, you are all safe. Don't panic, don't shout. I will control the bad guys first, and then you can get off the plane with peace of mind. Tang Feng floated in the air, his feet off the ground. As he flew towards the nose of the plane, he smiled to reassure the passengers. The passengers on the plane were already screaming in despair when the plane crashed, and then Tang Feng, with the power of Superman, appeared and saved everyone. The passengers also knew this, so they felt at ease. Although the appearance of Superman made them very dreamy, but they couldn't ask for it, and everyone was saved. 0. Therefore, the passengers heard Tang Feng's words, no longer panicked, and looked at Tang Feng with admiration at ease. "You are Superman. You acted in the Superman movie. Isn't it real? No special effects?" Just as Tang Feng arrogantly opened the hatch again and was about to fly in, a little boy asked innocently, "Look, I'm Superman. I definitely don't need any special effects." Tang Feng turned his head and smiled without explanation. "Hey, Mr. Criminal, you know who I am too, so don't try to resist, just give up your resistance." When Tang Feng flew into the first-class cabin, what he saw was a man holding a knife and holding a woman hostage, in front of him. His face was very nervous. Jensen wanted to die, but he wanted to drag more people into hell, which would have destroyed it for Tang Feng. Although he knew the practice of taking hostages, it might not work for Tang Feng. However, he was not reconciled and could only give it a try. "Don't come here." As soon as Jensen opened his mouth, his eyes flashed before Tang Feng appeared in front of him, held his hand holding the knife, and with a tug, he safely saved the hostage. Boom. "I've said it all and told you to give up your resistance, but you didn't listen." Tang Feng shook his head and said. Jensen covered his abdomen in pain and curled up, not knowing if he heard it for a long time. Chapter 6. A new power begins to awaken. Tang Feng casually broke a steel bar from the damaged wing next to him, and then twisted it to tie the Jensen. After a while, Tang Feng's keen sense of hearing knew that a large group of vehicles was approaching. Tang Feng also looked in the direction of the vehicle. All kinds of ambulances, news coverage vehicles, police cars, and firefighters rushed over a few kilometers away. Tang Feng also had to sigh because there is usually an accident and these people approached slowly, but now that there is a big news, this group of people are rushing over here. 043. After a while, these vehicles arrived at the scene of the incident. The police and firefighters also rushed over to deal with the accident scene. And Tang Feng did not choose to leave, but stayed on the spot and was surrounded by the group of news reporters. It was a water leak. In fact, Tang Feng did not leave the scene, and he also had his own plans. Tony Stark also took this opportunity to publicly announce that he was Iron Man at the press conference. And Tang Feng also intends to take this opportunity to show his identity as Superman. The microphone I remembered and the interview tools in my hand were also piled up in front of Tang Feng. Tang Feng also looked at the camera and smiled, but did not say anything else, just told the audience about the situation this time. Then Tang Feng looked at the sky and said, "I am Superman." After speaking, Tang Feng also flew up with a kick of both feet and disappeared into the sky. After a while, the strong wind brought by Tang Feng is also about the clothes of these people floating freely. On the second day, it can be said that all newspapers, media and television stations, regardless of the size of the large file, issued such a notice, hijacked plane, and admit that he is the identity of Superman. For a time, Tang Feng's actions as Superman began to circulate in the streets and alleys. A famous actor who played Superman turned out to be Superman. It also shocked everyone. And Tang Feng at this time did not choose to appear in front of the public, but began to touch up something after returning to his company yesterday. Tang Feng thought to himself, since he has admitted that he is a Superman, then as a superhero, he must have his own outfit. Although Tang Feng's body can basically be said to block all external forces, Tang Feng still chose to use materials such as neoprene tape with good airtightness. The rest use fabrics with high strength and low elongation to isolate the high temperature and impact force, and then blend with Kevlar fiber, which can be said to be indestructible. This set of outfits can also ensure that Tang Feng's clothes will not be damaged in various environments. At this moment, huge numbers of severely damaged cosmic motherships are floating in a galaxy 136 light-years away from the Milky Way. The entire dark spaceship could not feel the breath of life. At this moment, the spaceship suddenly remembered the sound of mechanical operation. In a cabin inside the spaceship, a black cylindrical shape began to glow red easily. This black container suddenly separated from top to bottom, and white gas also gushed out from this space. As the white gas dissipated, a strong human figure with a height of about 2 meters gradually revealed itself. The strong man also slowly opened his eyes and walked out of the black container step by step. In an extremely dark environment without any light at all, the man was constantly searching for something. At this moment, the man also sensed something not far away, and then pressed it hard. Crack! At this moment, the black protective cover around the space carrier slowly lifted, and light shot towards the cabin where the man was. Long-term storage also made this man unable to adapt to the sudden light for a while, but he did not choose to block it, and stood there quietly, as if 2 lines of tears were slowly falling from the corners of his eyes. Suddenly, the man went crazy and crashed into the sleeping compartment behind him. I only heard the man roar 2 words of 4.8 in a strange language, Superman. Earth. At this moment, Tang Feng also suddenly felt that a powerful force suddenly awakened in a very distant place, but this feeling quickly disappeared. After Tang Feng announced his identity as Superman, Tang Feng's fame changed to Tony Stark for a while. After deciding to announce that he is Superman, Tang Feng also decided to reject his identity as a singer and star. There is a saying that the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Tang Feng, who does not need to hide his strength, can no longer do what he wants to do. Chapter 7. The Persistent Dream. Tang Feng had a nightmare that tormented him recently after his perception of that strange and powerful force was fleeting. Whenever Tang Feng fell asleep, there were always some fragments of strange memories flashing in his mind. At first, Tang Feng didn't take it seriously, thinking it was just an ordinary dream, but as the fragments of these dreams became more and more complete and real, Tang Feng also had to start paying attention to his magical dream. In Dream 09, Tang Feng was on a planet he had never seen but was so familiar with. This planet was covered in yellow sand and was in the center of the planet. There were towering silver-black buildings. A flying dragon with these 4 wings floated above the sky. But this kind of scene didn't exist for a long time. Soon, Tang Feng could hear the sound of guns and explosions coming from the surroundings. The screams of people and the sound of buildings bursting and collapsing lingered in Tang Feng's ears. Soon, Tang Feng found himself in a silver room. Tang Feng was sure that the technology and various levels of this place were several degrees ahead of the Earth. A middle-aged man with a full beard appeared in front of Tang Feng, and a woman was standing in front of the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man seemed to have been saying something to this woman, but no matter how Tang Feng distinguished the shape of the man's mouth or tried his best to listen to what he was saying, it was all in vain. After a while, the woman walked towards her with a child in her arms. Tang Feng also saw that in front of him was a circular object that resembled a cabin that was slowly rising from the ground. The woman also said that the child was put into the cabin, and the woman shed tears. With the sound of a machine working, the round cabin turned into an independent escape spaceship and flew towards the horizon. With a bang, the door behind Tang Feng was also blown open by the explosion. Every time he dreamed of this place, Tang Feng would always suddenly wake up. As the number of nightmares increased, Tang Feng was also thinking about what the world in his dreams was like. Tang Feng could feel that this world and his own power were inextricably linked. The next day, Tang Feng came to a tavern alone, prepared to have 2 drinks, but not long after, Tang Feng overheard the conversation of the guest next door. "Aren't you going to the drill? Now the government's plans have changed. I'm the one who found something strange on Ellesmere Island. 99. The Air Command sent someone there a week ago, just 043 through a small hole. I heard that the Yankees were also there, and they called this some kind of anomalous target. Whatever it is." Although the voices of these officers were very low when they were chatting, Tang Feng, who had super sensitive hearing, also spoke their conversations clearly. Tang Feng at this moment can also feel that the abnormal target mentioned by the group of officers is most likely what he is looking for. During this period of time, all of Tang Feng's dreams and visions, the answers to all of them may lie in that goal. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8. Abnormal Targets. An island on the Canadian border. A military helicopter slowly landed on the snow-covered ice surface. The helicopter hatch slowly opened, and a woman slowly walked out of the helicopter with support. At this moment, a man also greeted the woman. The man also said, "Miss Lois, are you okay?" The woman began to nod and smile and said, "I'm fine." Lois directly asked the man, "How far is the place where we are now from the base?" The man pointed to the front of the two and said, "Not far, we just set up camp. I'll take you there now." Lois also nodded to the man. The man said to Lois as he walked, "Miss Lois, to be honest with you, I really don't like the Daily News Planet, but the reports she wrote in the First Division were very interesting to me." 99 Lois also jokingly said, "What should I say? If I didn't wear a lucky coat, I might not be able to write it." Soon the two of them entered the camp they had just set up. A middle-aged man in military uniform also came over, shook hands with Miss Lois, and said, "Hello Miss Lois, I am Colonel Hardy from the National Defense Advanced Research Institute, and this is Emil Hamilton beside me, Ph.D. Miss Lois also came over and shook hands with Dr. Hamilton, who was holding Colonel Hardy's side. Colonel Hardy continued, "Miss Lois, you are early, we thought you would not be here until tomorrow." Lois also said, "That's why I came here today." Let me be more direct. This is the territory of Canada, and the Supreme Court here has rejected your order against me, so I can come here. So, can I see what you found now? Hamilton also smiled at Colonel Hardy, and then picked up the computer and said to Miss Lois, "NASA's Earth observation satellite has detected the ice sheet anomaly for the first time, and the detection of the ice sheet has an extremely strong response." After speaking, Dr. Hamilton also pointed to the shadow on the computer screen. Lois also asked with some doubts, "Will it be a Soviet nuclear submarine or?" Hardy also interrupted Miss Lois's words when he went online and said, "Vertical bar, this thing is 300 feet long, which is much larger than the one from that era." Dr. Hamilton added, "But there is something strange about the master here. The ice around the target is 20,000 years old." 35 After hearing this, Lois walked out of the camp where he was stationed. Seeing the place, Colonel Hardy also said to Lois, "Miss Lois, the weather here will drop to -40 degrees at night. We might have to wait until the second year, spring, to find your body, if you don't come in." 5 He then walked in with Lois and closed the door. The moment the door closed, a man wearing a hat and a mask, covering himself so tightly that only a pair of eyes could be exposed, also walked out, and this man was Tang Feng, who secretly came to this camp after hearing the news. Tang Feng also wanted to take the opportunity of the night to explore this peculiar place that Roar had been calling him to. Chapter 9 Keys. Lois in the room naturally wouldn't listen to Colonel Hardy obediently. It was getting dark, and Lois also took out the flashlight, camera and other equipment from her bag, ready to sneak out to find out when it got dark. Let's see if there is anything that can surprise the world. At this moment, Tang Feng also followed his perception to the top of the abnormal target, and the top of the abnormal target was also covered by a thick layer of ice, but it definitely couldn't be difficult for Tang Feng. Tang Feng also slowly closed his eyes. Two hot energies gathered in 047 Tang Feng's eyes. Suddenly, Tang Feng also opened his eyes, and two hot lasers erupted from Tang Feng's eyes. The lasers hit the thick layer of ice, which melted a little. After a while, the layer of ice covering the anomalous target melted, and a dark passage appeared in front of Tang Feng. Tang Feng also entered this passage without thinking too much. The dark passage couldn't block Tang Feng's sight. Tang Feng looked through his eyes and saw a place similar to a control room, and slowly walked over. Tang Feng, who entered the spaceship, was also very surprised. The structure and materials used here are not at the stage that current humans can reach. Even he himself is completely unable to tell what the spaceship was built with. Even Tang Feng had to admire the power of this spaceship's technology. Soon, Tang Feng walked towards this place similar to the control room. When Tang Feng entered, a black cylinder-shaped machine suddenly exuded blue light and slowly floated towards Tang Feng. When the blue ray machine arrived in front of Tang Feng, it slowly stretched out, and a dented space appeared on a crystal-clear screen. Just as Tang Feng was wondering, the black necklace that Tang Feng had always carried with him suddenly reacted and began to tremble. Regarding this necklace, Tang Feng has been carrying it with him for as long as he can remember, and even he himself does not know the origin of this necklace. He did not expect that this necklace would resonate here. Tang Feng also directly took off the collar, and the collar was directly sucked into this gap. But at this moment, Tang Feng also felt a dangerous aura suddenly approaching behind him. Tang Feng also reacted in an instant and turned back, but what appeared in front of Tang Feng looked like a squid-like machine. The squid machine also fired a laser directly, focusing on Tang Feng's arm. Tang Feng was also very surprised. There was something that could hurt him. Tang Feng looked at his blood-stained arm and thought to himself. Tang Feng also didn't get too entangled with the squid machine, but planned to press the switch directly. But the squid machine at this moment also stretched out its tentacles and wrapped around Tang Feng's arm. But Tang Feng has the power of Superman and directly and violently pulls. It was the tentacle that was torn off, and then Tang Feng also pressed the switch at lightning speed. In an instant, the entire room instantly lit up and the squid machine stopped. Chapter 10 Commissioning. As the room lit up, the squid machine also used its own weapons and tentacles, and slowly retreated backwards. At the other end of the cabin, Miss Lois also climbed up from a certain entrance. As the cabin lit up, Miss Lois was also very surprised, and now Miss Lois was even more convinced that there was definitely some important news here. As Miss Lois stepped onto the platform, the squid robot also appeared in front of Miss Lois. Miss Lois was also very surprised and did not expect to be bumped into so quickly. Miss Lois also quickly took out the camera in her hand, ready to capture this rare scene. But just as Miss Lois pressed the shutter, the squid machine suddenly stretched out its tentacles and threw it towards Lois, knocking her off the wall. Miss Lois also screamed in pain. Miss Lois's voice also caught Tang Feng's attention, and Tang Feng also moved in front of Lois in an instant. Tang Feng also grabbed the squid machine, clenched his hands tightly, and suddenly pulled the squid machine into two halves. Tang Feng also said that the remains of the squid machine were thrown aside, and Tang Feng also quickly walked up to Lois and squatted down to check Miss Lois's injuries. But the panic made Lois very nervous. Tang Feng also comforted Lois and said, "It's okay, don't be afraid, you are injured, let me see your wound, okay?" When Lois saw a human man in front of him, he relaxed his vigilance and nodded towards Tang Feng. Tang Feng also slowly unbuttoned Lois's jacket. Tang Feng looked at Lois's wound and said, "Now the wound is bleeding profusely, severely. If I don't cauterize you, you will soon die from blood loss, too much." Lois was also very puzzled and said from time to time, "How can you do it here?" Tang Feng also smiled at Lois and said, "Don't worry, I can do things that ordinary people can't do. 99 Grab my hand, it will hurt a lot," Tang Feng slowly said to Lois. Lois also grabbed Tang Feng's hand suspiciously. 0. Flowers. Tang Feng's eyes began to accumulate hot energy again, and then Tang Feng also carefully controlled the strength of his energy dispersion. This is very difficult to control. If the size of the energy file is not well controlled, Lois is very likely to die directly. Tang Feng also slowly opened his eyes and told Lois to burn the injured part to stop the bleeding. The huge amount of pain also rendered Lois unconscious. 0. Inside the camp where the Americans were stationed, the ice detector suddenly recalled the alarm. The ground began to shake violently, and Colonel Hardy and Dr. Hamilton hurriedly rushed out. But what happened in front of them also shocked everyone. The glacier cracked and a huge flying device rose from the ice sheet. The intense light emitted by the spacecraft was like a blazing sun. All darkness faded away. Tang Feng also put Lois in a safe place that could be found by the American rescue team, and then returned to the mysterious spacecraft again. The spacecraft also flew towards a mountain for a long time. Chapter 11 Responsibilities. The spaceship slowly docked at the top of the mountain, and inside the spaceship, a mechanical voice sounded. The flight direction guidance was completed, and all systems were launched. At this moment, a door behind Tang Feng also slowly opened, and an old man in a robe walked towards Tang Feng. The old man also looked at Tang Feng and slowly said, "I didn't expect to see you grow up." 047 Tang Feng was also very puzzled, and said to the old man, "Who are you?" The old man also slowly said, "Am I of your kind, Or am I just an image and portrait? Tang Feng is also full of puzzlement now, and Tang Feng also asked the old man, I have many questions now. Where does my power come from? Why did you send me here? Behind the old man, the sand of memory slowly began to take shape, and the old man said, your power comes from Krypton, a planet with a harsher environment than Earth. Long ago, with the evolution of the times, our species spread throughout the universe, looking for a place to settle, and this scout ship was one of them. We have established outposts on other planets and used machines to transform an environment suitable for our survival. For hundreds of thousands of years, our civilization has flourished like a miracle. Tang Feng asked, and then what? We used artificial technology to control the birth of the population and abandoned the outposts used for reconnaissance, but in the end we exhausted natural resources, so the Earth's core became very unstable and unstable. This caused our General Zod, to stage a coup d'etat, but it was too late, and after foreseeing that this would happen, I took measures to keep the power of the Kryptonians alive. The sands of memory are constantly transforming. The old man also said, this is the library of creation, that is, the place where the population is raised, and all the children are preset with their future social status, becoming workers, exhibitors, or leaders. I believe that Krypton has lost the opportunity to choose, so I decided to be different and only give power to a person full of potential. Of a nascent race. This power ultimately chose you. Zero. You are the product of belief, Tang Feng. That is what brought you here. You have a great responsibility on your shoulders. You are the same as the Kryptonian, and only you can perfect these two worlds, which is why I am willing to sacrifice my life to defend it. The old man brought Tang Feng to the front of a round sphere. The sphere suddenly opened, and a pitch-black shirt was placed inside, with a bright red cloak behind the shirt. The people on Earth are indeed different from us. On the contrary, I think this is the best way. They won't make the same mistakes as us. If you lead them, if you bring them hope, this is the meaning of these 4.8 shirts on the chest, and everyone has the opportunity to change their ways, and this is what you have to do. The door of the ship cabin slowly opened, and Tang Feng, who was wearing a pitch-black shirt, slowly walked out of the door. Tang Feng stood on the top of the mountain, looking at the surrounding snow. Tang Feng also secretly clenched his fist, his eyes firm. Chapter 12. The frustrated Lois. The cold wind blew the cloak behind Tang Feng. The clouds in the sky gradually dispersed, and the rays of the sun shone on Tang Feng's body. It made Tang Feng feel like a warm current was slowly flowing into his body, and the warm current turned into a force and flowed into Tang Feng's body. The sun on Earth is younger and brighter than that on Krypton. Under the rays of the sun, your cells can absorb its radiation, which strengthens your muscles, skin, and senses. Earth's gravity will be weaker than Krypton, but its atmosphere is full of nutrients, and you will be stronger than you thought. Testing the strength of your ability is to constantly test your own limits. When Tang Feng walked out of the spaceship, the old man said something like that to him. 09. Tang Feng looked at the sky and kicked hard at the snow-covered peaks. Tang Feng's body just jumped several dozen feet. Tang Feng constantly jumped, splashing bursts of ice fragments. Tang Feng suddenly stopped, raised his hands high, and flew into the sky. Tang Feng accelerated steadily until his body rushed out of the solar system. Tang Feng also slowly stopped and floated out of the Earth. Looking at this blue planet, Tang Feng also felt a sense of responsibility in his heart. In Tang Feng's mind, he thought of the words that the old man said to himself, "You will become a role model for the people of Earth." At this moment, Tang Feng also seemed to have found his goal of possessing this power. To protect this blue planet, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. When you have this ability, bad things happen, and you choose to stand by. So in the end, if bad things happen, that is your reason. Inside the daily building planet, what Colonel Hardy and his team thought was a Soviet submarine actually came from a more distant location, and isotopic analysis of the ice around the target also showed that the target had been inside the glacier for 20,000 years. That's as long as. And the person who saved me disappeared after the target left, and after a background check, it was found that his work history and identity were falsified. His existence is still unclear. but I know what I saw. It can be seen that the target and the crew inside are not from Earth. Miss Lois is also conducting an investigative report on this anomalous target in the newspaper president's office. After Miss Lois finished reading, the president of the newspaper also looked at Miss Lois with a confused look, and then said to Lois, "I can't publish this report, Louis. It may be half of your hallucination." Miss 050 Lois was also very unconvinced when she heard it, and said, "Otherwise, go and confirm with the private company that was present at the time." The president of the newspaper also shook his head. "You don't understand. The Pentagon denies the existence of this unknown flying object. Do you know?" Miss Lois was also amused. "The Pentagon? Well, they don't deny that it's not the Pentagon. Please believe me. I won a Pulitzer Prize, and what I said is true." The president of the newspaper also spread his hands and said, "Since this is the case, you should write something decent. Louis, you understand." Chapter 13 The Truth. Louise Lois also threw the manuscript on the newspaper president's desk and said, "You have to publish it or I will resign." The newspaper boss also shook his head and said, "You can't resign. We have signed a contract." The newspaper president's words also made Miss Lois speechless. The newspaper president also patted Ms. Lois on the shoulder and said, "I can't publish a story similar to the fact that there are aliens living next to us. Article 99. Don't do this again. Promise me." Miss Lois was also very helpless and left the newspaper president's office. After leaving the Daily News building, she said, "I'm not going to do this again." Planet. Miss Lois directly called a taxi and went to a small bar nearby to order a glass of whiskey. When the bar owner handed the wine to Lois, he also said, "Miss, this whiskey is a bit stronger for a lady." Louise brought the wine glass to a man's side, and Miss Lois also took out her mobile phone and said to the man, "I'm sending you the manuscript I wrote now. You must keep it well. If it is leaked to the internet before Miss Lois could finish her sentence, the man interrupted her. "Okay, I understand, but didn't you always say that my website is a breeding ground for spreading rumors? Why are you coming to me for help now?" Miss Lois also smiled and said, "Even now I still think the same, but I think this matter needs to be known." The man also hung up the phone with a faint smile and asked, "Can you tell me why you did this? I want that mysterious man to know that I have discovered the truth behind this." 35 Inside the Pentagon in the War Conference Room, General Nick arrived here after receiving the news, and Dr. Hamilton was also fiddling with something. General Nick also asked, "Dr. Hamilton, what is this? A comet or a small planet?" "Comets don't make their own orbital corrections," Hamilton said in disbelief. "I hope you see this before some amateurs find out." On the screen, an unknown black flight object appeared on the surface of the moon. Dr. Hamilton also said, "This ship seems to be in a state of synchronization with the moon's orbit. I don't know why." General Nick also said, "Vertical bar, have you tried to communicate with this ship?" Dr. Hamilton also nodded slowly and said, "I tried, but they haven't responded yet. I'm just guessing, but I think whoever tampered with this thing might want to make a dramatic appearance." At this moment, a video of flight is playing on the news on the streets. Miss Lois also saw it. At Tang Feng's house, Tang Feng was also watching Lee's TV, but his heart was filled with a very uneasy mood. At this moment, Tang Feng is also calling Tang Feng in the mansion. "Tang Feng, come and see." Tang Feng also quickly stepped out, and the mysterious spaceship also slowly entered the atmosphere and hovered in the air. Suddenly, it seemed that there was a problem with the power supply in the entire city. All the lights went out, and a very strange sound appeared on the TV. Chapter 14 Global Notice. 050 I am General Zod. I come from a distant world. I came here through the interstellar sea. You have hidden a person who came to the same planet as me. I need you to hand this person over to me now. Let me come to supervise. Tang Feng also felt something was wrong, although everyone else was still confused. Only Tang Feng now understood that the person General Zod was talking about was himself. For some unknown reason, he decided to hide his whereabouts. He worked hard to integrate with you and become more like you, but he is not your type. If you know where he is now, the future of the Earth is in your hands. Listen carefully. You are limited to surrender within 24 hours, Otherwise, the outcome of the earth will be caused by you. The picture suddenly went black, and some old household appliances also exploded due to a short circuit. The lights in the city turned on again, and now almost all the TV news are discussing, if this person really didn't intend to harm us, then he should come out and surrender himself. And in the face of the results, I think Louise Lois knows where he is. Miss Lois, who was watching TV, was also confused. This is Miss Lois's phone that is also ringing. The voice of the newspaper's editor-in-chief on the other end of the phone also rang. Louis, did you see what that bastard is saying on TV? Do you know where he is? It's about the safety of the earth. Ajay, you still tell the person about it. 39 Lois also decisively rejected the newspaper's editor-in-chief and said, you know, I can't say it. Now this matter is no longer a question of honesty or dishonesty, you know. If you don't say it, the FBI will come to arrest you soon. Before the newspaper's editor-in-chief could finish speaking, Lois saw that the FBI car had arrived downstairs. Miss Lois also hurriedly hung up the phone, and then picked up her bag and headed towards the back of the building to escape. But it was too late to escape. When Lois had just gone downstairs, a black van stopped in front of Lois, and heavily armed FBI agents also surrounded Lois, and then took the car. At this time, Tang Feng also came to a small church. Tang Feng said to the priest, I don't know where to start. 35 Everything will be fine. The spaceship that appeared last night, I am the person they are looking for. The priest also said, do you know why they are looking for you? Tang Feng also slowly said, I don't know, but that General Zod, he is not a person who will keep his promise. Even if I surrender, he will not keep his promise, but now the only way to ensure the safety of the land is me. 99 Father, should I do this? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Questions of Trust. The priest also swallowed and slowly said, what's your inner thought? Tang Feng shook his head and said, I can't trust General Zod. But I'm not sure I can trust the Earthlings either. After speaking, Tang Feng stood up and walked towards the door. The priest also said, sometimes you have to decide what your faith really is, and the matter of trust is not in a hurry. General Zod's spaceship has landed in an open space outside the city, and General Nick also took the army and came down beside the spaceship, ready to fight at any time. Tang Feng also slowly flew down from the air. General Nick also walked out and said to Tang Feng in the sky, okay, you have already attracted our attention, what do you want to do? Tang Feng also looked at General Nick on the ground and said, I want to talk to Ms. Louise Lois. Why do you think she is here? Don't mess with my general. I will surrender, but you must make sure to release Louise Lois, Tang Feng said. General Nick also agreed to Tang Feng's request. Tang Feng slowly fell to the ground, and General Nick also put handcuffs on him. Although the handcuffs couldn't restrain Tang Feng at all, General Nick also took Tang Feng to the room where Lois was locked up. Miss Lois also asked very puzzledly, why did you surrender? Tang Feng also smiled and shook his head and said, if I refuse, it won't be called surrender. And this way they feel safer. It's better this way. Louise Lois also smiled. What does the S on your chest mean? Tang Feng also looked at his shirt and said, this is not S. On that planet, this symbol means hope. Cause the communication equipment in the room was also connected, and a voice came from the other end. Hello, I'm Dr. Hamilton. Tang Feng also turned his head to look at the one-way mirror and said, I know Dr. Hamilton. I can see the ID card on his chest. There is also a half-held smoked meat sandwich. 99 inches. Oh, I also saw a squad of soldiers with tranquilizers in their hands. You don't need them. 0 pound. Dr. Hamilton is also very embarrassed to say, at least there is a protective measure. Tang Feng, you may have some alien diseases. 35 Tang Feng was also amused by Dr. Hamilton's words and said, but I have been here for 23 years, doctor, and I have nothing to infect you. General Nick also took it and said, you know, we have our own considerations, Why don't you tell us the truth? 0.0 Tang Feng also slowly stood up. The handcuffs were torn like a piece of paper. Tang Feng also walked to the general and said, General Nick, let's spread it out. You are afraid of me, because you think you can't control me. 35 But in fact, you don't have to be like this. You can't control me at all, but that doesn't mean I'm your enemy. General Nick also knew this. Tang Feng could also see himself, and he looked straight into Tang Feng's eyes and said, Who is Zud? Tang Feng also said, This is exactly what I'm worried about. General Nick, Jiu.G Chapter 16 Meeting. Because of him, I was asked to hand you over to him. General Nick said to Tang Feng very helplessly now. Tang Feng also nodded and said, Do what you should do, General. After that, General Nick let someone open the door, and Tang Feng and Miss Lois also came to an open space covered with yellow sand. Tang Feng also turned his head to Miss Lois and said, Thank you for believing in me. 050 Miss Lois also smiled and shook her head. But that doesn't change anything. This has a different meaning to me. Tang Feng turned around after saying this. There was a sound of breaking wind in the sky. Tang Feng also knew that General Zod and the others had already arrived. After a while, a circular flying device also appeared in front of everyone. At this moment, General Nick did not dare to slack off at all, leading the army to be on standby at any time. The round spaceship also slowly landed, and the hatch at the back slowly rose. Two people in heavy black armor also slowly walked down. The head of the black armor is also open, and under a layer of transparent protective film, there is a woman's face. This woman is also looking at Tang Feng up and down. After a while, the woman also said, Tang Feng, I am Fora, the commander of the ship. General Zod asked me to greet you on your behalf. After speaking, this non-ruler ignored Tang Feng and walked directly to General Nick. Are you the Supreme General here? General Nick also nodded and said, I am. General Zod wants this woman to come with us. Fora also pointed to Miss Louise Lois, who was standing in the center of the army. Colonel Hardy was also very surprised, walked over and said, What you want is that alien. Didn't you say that you want our people? Fora also said blankly, Do you need me to inform General Zod that you are not cooperating with his orders? I don't care about your shitty orders. Colonel Hardy was also very angry. But at this moment Miss Lois also stood up and said, It doesn't matter, I'll go with him. After speaking, Tang Feng and Lois were taken onto the spaceship by this Fora. The spaceship also disappeared into the sky in an instant. On the spaceship floating above the moon, General Zod was also waiting for Tang Feng's arrival. Tang Feng, you don't know how long we've been looking for you. Are you Zod? Tang Feng's words also provoked Fora's dissatisfaction, and Fora also said to Tang Feng, This is our highest commander, General Zod, you. But General Zod also interrupted Fora, Please forgive your rudeness, you are not familiar with our etiquette. We should be celebrating, not fighting. As the moon rotated, the surface on which General Zod's spaceship was floating was also illuminated by the rays of the sun. The sunlight also shone on Tang Feng's body at 4.8. At this moment, Tang Feng suddenly felt a wave of weakness and dizziness sweep over him. Tang Feng also shook his head and said, I don't feel well. Then Tang Feng's legs also fell to the ground uncontrollably. Blood slowly flowed out of the corner of Tang Feng's mouth. Lois also asked anxiously, What's going on? Chapter 17 Terrible Visions. General Zod also slowly shook his head and said to Louise, I can't do anything either, you can only solve it by yourself now. Louise was also anxious, and Roar called out Tang Feng's name. Tang Feng only felt that his consciousness was becoming more and more blurred. Tang Feng tried hard to support him, but soon he fell into a coma and lost consciousness. When Tang Feng opened his eyes again, the surrounding scene changed. Tang Feng was in his own farm. At this moment, General Zod's voice came from behind Tang Feng. Hello Tang Feng. Hearing General Zod's voice, Tang Feng also hurriedly stood up. But General Zod stood there with his hands behind his back and looked into the distance. General Zod also continued, I was the 09th military commander of Krypton, and your father was our most important scientist. The only thing we have in common is that Krypton is about to be destroyed. 39 And I chose to work hard to protect our civilization and save our planet, but you also see, What is our reward? My team and I were banished to the Phantom Zone. But the destruction of our world has freed us. You can't understand how we feel. We are adrift, doomed to float among the remains of Krypton until we starve to death. 99 Tang Feng also asked, very puzzled, then how did you come to Earth? We rebuilt the Phantom Zone device into a superluminal flight device, and Joel also used the same method to send you to Earth. We traveled the planet, and the instruments that imprisoned us saved us. We searched the outposts of the former colonies, looking for the message of life, but all we found was death. 5 After losing contact with Krypton, these outposts have long since disappeared, so we took what we needed: armor, weapons, and world engines. We have been preparing for 30 years, until we received a signal that you accidentally triggered the alarm inside the reconnaissance plane. Tang Feng, who brought us here, now has the ability to save your own race. Tang Feng also saw a large number of spaceships landing in front of him. Zod also came behind Tang Feng and said to Tang Feng, on Krypton, the genes of all unborn children are encoded in the Code of Life. Joel stole the Code of Life and put it in the capsule that brought you to Earth. Tang Feng also said lightly, why did he do this? Only then can Krypton be reborn. Reborn on Earth. The huge amounts of extremely in front of Tang Feng also shot a laser towards the crust. The structure of the Earth's crust was destroyed in an instant, and huge amounts of yellow sand spread towards Tang Feng like waves. Although Tang Feng knew that this was not real, it was just an illusion, but such a real feeling also made Tang Feng reach out to stop it. After the storm, the original appearance of the Earth no longer exists, and a new Krypton star also appeared in front of Tang Feng. General Zod also said, where is the Tang Feng life code? Tang Feng raised his head and said to General Zod, if this place is transformed into Krypton, what will happen to the Earth? General Zod also laughed and laughed very crazily. Chapter 18. The reconstruction of Krypton must start with another planet as the base. Even Joel discovered this. Tang Feng also felt an attractive force coming from his feet, but no matter what Tang Feng did, he couldn't break free. Tang Feng also looked down at his feet. Dead men's skulls surrounded him, pulling him to slowly sink. No, General Zod, I will definitely not be involved in this. Zod also said, you have no choice, Tang Feng. Tang Feng also struggled constantly, but he still fell deeper and deeper until these skeletons completely surrounded Tang Feng. Tang Feng, who was tied up in the Krypton spaceship, also suddenly opened his eyes. It turned out that all the illusions had disappeared. Tang Feng looked at his limbs, and they were all bound by black chains. Tang Feng's power at this moment is also extremely weak, and with the current Tang Feng, it is impossible to destroy these chains. Joel broke free with glory. Tang Feng's Zod also appeared beside Tang Feng and said to Tang Feng, did you kill him? Tang Feng asked, yes, but I have to. It troubles and worries me every day, but if I go back to that time, I will still do it. I have a mission for my people that must be completed, and I won't let anyone stop me from doing this. After finishing speaking, General Zod also walked away, bringing his most capable officer with him, and set off for Earth in a small airship. Earth sitting in the command room, the satellite detector also detected 2 unknown flying objects speeding towards Earth, and General Nick also said, what is this? Dr. Hamilton also looked a little nervous and said, these are 2 enemy aircraft launched by alien spacecraft. They're there. 35 With that said, the images taken by the satellite were also projected on the big screen. General Nick also said, connect to aerial photography satellite 4. I want a closer lens. Of course. After finishing speaking, General Nick also picked up the walkie-talkie and said, command, signal Trident. 2 alien warships are coming. The flight speed is 380 knots, and they are entering the sky over Kansas. On the spaceship, after General Zod left, the group of experts beside General Zod was also responsible for taking care of Tang Feng. The group of experts slowly told Tang Feng that you are different from us, and your power comes from the sun, but the environment inside our ships is different from that on Earth. In this place, under such an environment, you are no different from ordinary people. Louise Lois was also escorted into a detention room. Louise looked around in horror, and suddenly, in the dark room, A blue light machine also attracted Louise's attention. Louise also slowly walked to the machine emitting blue light, and then took out the black necklace that Tang Feng gave her and put it into the machine. The machine also said that the black necklace was sucked in, and Louise slowly turned around, staggering randomly, and an old man in a robe suddenly appeared behind Louise. The old man also slowly opened his mouth and said to Louise, "Vertical bar, the key that Tang Feng gave you?" Chapter 19. You can save the Earth. The old man also slowly continued, "Thanks to you, I have now been successfully uploaded to the main program of this spaceship." Louise was also a little terrified and said, "Who are you and can you help me?" The old man also nodded, but did not answer Louise's question, only slowly said, "I designed this Fang. I can stop them and send them back to the ghost zone." 39. Louise also hurriedly asked the old man, "Then what should I do?" "I will teach you, and then you will go to Tang Feng. Can you help me?" Louise also nodded. Although Louise's mask was gone, Louise was also very worried. After all, there was no oxygen in this spaceship. But the surprising thing was that after taking off the mask, Louise did not feel any discomfort. Old man 057 also looked at Louise and said with a light smile, "The alarm sounded, we have to hurry up, get the master key," and then the old man waved his hand and the hatch opened. The old man also turned his head and said, "Bring a gun." General Zud's group of experts supervising Tang Feng also heard the sound of the alarm, and then heard the sound of an explosion. Tang Feng at this moment also felt that the energy was recovering super fast. Tang Feng also broke free from his shackles, and General Zud's group of experts was also very frightened and hurriedly escaped from the room where Tang Feng was imprisoned. At this time, General Zud and his right-hand man have also arrived in Kansas in the United States. Louise, led by the old man, advanced step by step towards the escape pod. After arriving at the escape pod, the old man also said, "Be sure to stay in the escape pod safely until you land on Earth, and we may never see each other again. Remember, the ghost device zone is the only way to stop them." Louise also nodded to the old man. But at this moment, the old man also suddenly said, "Turn your head down and move to the right to avoid it." After listening to Louise, she was also very confused. The old man's image suddenly disappeared. A subordinate of General Zod also punched Louise, and Louise subconsciously managed to escape because she heard the old man's words. This time the punch hit the escape cabin, destroying the internal structure of the escape cabin. Louise also responded very quickly and fired a shot at this person. General Zod's men were also hit and retreated. At this moment, the escape pod was also ejected, but due to the damage to the internal structure of the escape pod, the oxygen in the escape pod was also rapidly consumed, and the outer shell also began to burn due to the acceleration of the atmosphere. After Tang Feng walked out of the room where he was imprisoned, the old man's image also appeared in front of Tang Feng. Tang Feng took the lead and said, "Is the code of life really what Zod said?" The old man also smiled and did not answer Tang Feng's question, but said, "Break the wall." Tang Feng definitely did the same. "We want you to learn to be human first, and when the time comes, you can be the bridge between the two races." The old man's eyes were also looking at Louise's escape boat, and Tang Feng naturally found it. "You can save her?" the old man said to Tang Feng. Chapter 20. Rescue Louise. Tang Feng at this moment also understood the old man's meaning and immediately decided to jump out of the spaceship and chase after the aircraft that Louise was riding on. At this moment, the escape ship that Louise was on was constantly rubbing against the atmosphere, causing a raging fire, and the life supply device inside the escape pod was also a little out of order. Tang Feng also further accelerated his speed, and there were bursts of popping sounds in the sky as Tang Feng continued to accelerate. At the moment when Tang Feng could already see the city on the ground, Tang Feng also stretched out his hand and grabbed Louise's escape ship in front of him. Tang Feng grabbed Louise's escape ship, but because the escape ship was too heavy, Tang Feng was unable to change his direction of movement in such a short time. Tang Feng was also lying on the escape boat, removed the hatch, hugged Louise, and then flew into the sky. The escape boat crashed into the ground, creating a large number of potholes. and Tang Feng also hugged Louise and slowly landed on the ground. But as soon as he landed, Louise noticed that Tang Feng's face changed, and then he flew into the sky again. Behind Louise, the police car responsible for the rescue also rushed over. At this moment, General Zod drove it to Tang Feng's mansion. At this moment, General Zod also caught Tang Feng's mother and asked Tang Feng's mother, "What spaceship is there?" Where? Tang Feng's mother naturally wouldn't tell him, just said coldly, "Go to hell." 33 General Zod also smiled and waved to his subordinate, who grabbed Tang Feng's mother by the collar and lifted her up. Under the influence of suffocation and brain hypoxia, Tang Feng's mother also subconsciously looked at a warehouse next to her, and General Zod definitely noticed such a subtle change. At this moment, General Zod pointed to the warehouse and said, "There." General Zod's subordinates also said that Tang Feng's mother made a change and then jumped into the warehouse. However, after careful search, the existence of the life code was still not found. 0 middle dot 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 pound. General Zod was also very angry at this moment. He simply took a pickup truck and threw it into Tang Feng's mansion house. Speaking of the house that broke a big hole, General Zod also walked angrily towards Tang Feng's mother. Just as General Zod walked towards Tang Feng's mother step by step to ask questions, a figure suddenly rushed over, grabbed General Zod and rubbed against the ground and flew hundreds of meters away. 0 As soon as he flew up, Tang Feng punched General Zod, who was caught by him, and said, "How dare you threaten my mother?" After flying for a distance, Tang Feng also threw General Zod away and slammed him into a wall. But Zod, who was wearing armor, was not injured, but the mask covering Zod became unstable. Zod also tore off the mask on his face in one go, but what happened next made Zod feel a lot of pain. The surrounding sounds were amplified hundreds of times, and the line of sight could not be focused, and there was a strong sense of pain. It ran through General Zod's brain for a long time. Chapter 21. General Zod also covered his head in pain and slowly fell to his knees on the ground. General Zod at this moment also asked Tang Feng, "What have you done to me?" Tang Feng also slowly smiled and stood up and said to General Zod, "My parents taught me to control my senses." Zod focused on what he wanted to see. "And you lost your helmet. What are you doing?" Received. 99 This 060 is very painful. Zod. Tang Feng also walked towards Zod slowly, but suddenly, beside Tang Feng, Zod's men also chased after him, and a large number of lightning bolts also hit Tang Feng's body. Tang Feng was also pushed back by the force of the impact and crashed into a truck, and Zod was also helped by his subordinates to stand up and slowly brought the spaceship over. This impact was also a little painful for Tang Feng. Tang Feng also clutched his stomach and stood up after a while. Just as Tang Feng wanted to chase Zod, Tang Feng heard screams from the crowd behind him. Tang Feng also turned his head to look. One tall and one short had a huge difference in size, and General Zod's men, who were all over the place, wearing black armor. They were also walking towards Tang Feng. Tang Feng also took a deep breath and said to the fleeing crowd around him, "Come in. It's not safe here." Over in Kansas, Colonel Hardy directed a military helicopter over here. Command Center. "I am the commander of the air mission. We have seen in advance enemy forces that have tried to attack us. They are very dangerous and may use weapons of destruction." The two fighter planes also passed by and said into the microphone, "Commander, we are heading over." Tang Feng also came to the front of the two, and the two sides stopped at the same time. Seeing that the war was about to break out, the fighter plane also arrived at the location in the air, and the driver said to the command center, "We have locked the target. The weapon system is already in place, ready to attack at any time." After speaking, the two fighter planes also aimed at Tang Feng and Zod's two men. At this time, Colonel Hardy's order also came, "On the 11th, approve the attack, approve the attack." The two fighter planes began a carpet-like strafing towards the three people on the ground almost at the same time. Tang Feng also reacted instantly and moved to the side to avoid, and Zod's two men were also in front. He was hit and fell backwards. Colonel Hardy on the fighter plane also said, "Well done number 11, ready 35 yes, prepare for a second attack. Zod's subordinates also reacted, first of all to get rid of these two little flies that were in the way. Both of them stood up and jumped up at once, grabbing the wing of the number 11 fighter, and Colonel Hardy also shouted into the walkie-talkie, "Emergency ejection, urgent ejection," but it was too late. Before the pilot had time to eject, he was grabbed and thrown far away, and the other 4.8 fighter plane also wanted to evade in case of emergency, but one of Zod's men also rushed in directly. The driver also shouted into the walkie-talkie in despair, "The enemy is attacking from the front, and the front is attacking." Just when the driver is desperate, Tang Feng also rushed out and grabbed Zod's men. At the same time, he fell from a height into a hamburger restaurant. Chapter 22. Zod's men fell into the burger restaurant, and the people inside were also evacuated by the army. When he fell, Tang Feng also stabilized his body in time, but was heavily crushed by General Zod's subordinates. But General Zod's subordinates are not vegetarians, and when they fly into the air, they meet Tang Feng head-on. With a punch, Tang Feng is also hit solidly. He just hit the wall. Tang Feng also realized that this opponent is not so easy to deal with. He rushed forward with a step, and with a jab, he punched Zod's men. But Zod's subordinates only dodged lightly, that is, to avoid Tang Feng's attack. Tang Feng was also very inconceivable. 09 looked back at Zod's subordinate. That subordinate also slowly spoke to Tang Feng, "You are weak and lack self-confidence." 55 Tang Feng also didn't want to give him another chance to talk nonsense. The punch was to attack the man's abdomen, but this Zod's subordinates reacted extremely quickly. His body sank, and his left hand reached out to block. Then he moved his body and punched Tang Feng again. "You will lose because you have unnecessary morale, and we don't, which gives us a new evolution." Tang Feng also rushed out of the ruins, but he still failed to hit Zod's subordinate. Instead, he was caught. Zod's subordinate also grabbed Tang Feng's collar and slowly lifted Tang Feng up. And history also proves, while saying that, the short man also punched Tang Feng and embedded him into the ground. The short man lifted Tang Feng above his head with both hands, and then threw him towards the city. Tang Feng also slammed heavily into the safe of a vault, and even the safe was deeply dented. The short man also jumped in front of Tang Feng and said arrogantly, "Evolution always wins." At this moment, Tang Feng was also very angry. Tang Feng also gritted his teeth and stomped his feet on the ground, grabbed the short man and rushed out. Tang Feng also said that the short man was thrown to the ground and smashed a big hole. Just as Tang Feng was about to continue his attack, he suddenly found himself unable to move. It turned out that the subordinates of the tall General Zod also arrived at this time. The strength of this tall man is very great. He also grabbed Tang Feng's legs tightly, and the tall man roared and smashed Tang Feng into the ground. Inside, at this moment, military helicopters are also heading towards this war zone. Control tower, we are about to reach Battle 060, start action. The ground troops also marched towards the theater in an orderly manner under the command, facing the alternate attacks of these two Zod men. Tang Feng was defeated and had no room to counterattack. As Tang Feng tiredly dodged the two men's offensive, he had to find a space to counterattack. Tang Feng was also dragging the short man to take off, but was caught and intercepted by the tall man. At this time, Tang Feng was also pressed to the ground by the tall and short. The strength of the two is very large. No matter how hard Tang Feng struggles, he can't get rid of the two for a while. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.